Music and singing comes from a person's soul. They manifest themselves in rhythm and sweet melody that creates meaningful depth and vibrancy in one's life. One nation that used singing to gain independence from their oppressors is the nation of Estonia. How can a small nation in the Baltic states stand up to a political giant like the USSR? Unfortunately, the nation of Estonia fell under the Iron Curtain of the Soviet Union. Estonia and the other Baltic states saw an opportunity to gain national independence back when Gorbachev created liberal policies on free speech and expression. The primary way that Estonia protested was through music and singing, which is a deep part of their culture. This video essay will elaborate on the story of the singing revolution. Estonia is a nation that has a long and vibrant history. Ethnic Estonians have been living there for about 5 to 10,000 years, where modern-day Estonia stands. The land is close to the Arctic Circle, and parts of the nation experiences freezing temperatures. The weather entails typically rough winters and long summer days. Due to the harsh conditions, time is spent singing and making music. They have the most extensive collection of music in Europe. In all that spare time, their culture was able to flourish and grow around the art of singing. The nation of Estonia has an issue in the past with staying independent. More powerful nations have taken control of Estonia's population and resources. In 1208, Pope Innocent III called for a crusade of the northern regions of Europe. The crusade was known as the Livonian Crusade and would not give Estonians their independence until February of 1918. During this time of their independence, they were prosperous and had one of the highest literacy rates in Europe. In 1939, World War II began, which ended up being the bloodiest conflict in human history, claiming 70 million lives from 1939 to 1945. Nazi Germany, led by Adolf Hitler, began invading other nations such as Poland. The dormant economic giant of Joseph Stalin's Soviet Russia was a threat to the Nazis. There was a meeting between the two, and they came to an agreement. Under this agreement, Nazis and Soviets would not go to war with each other for 10 years. It also would split Eastern Europe in half, leaving the Baltic states to the Soviets. This would become known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, also known as the Non-Aggression Pact. In 1941, the Nazis broke the pact by launching Operation Barbarossa against the Soviet Red Army. The Nazis appeared to be winning the war, but winter came and the Red Army pushed them back, ending in a Soviet victory which confirmed Estonia's fate. After the war, Russian forces never left Estonia. The experience of falling under the Soviet Iron Curtain caused pain and suffering for the Estonians. Men experienced deportation to gulag camps, women and children were sent to Siberia, and few escaped or became forced to exile. Between 20 and 30% of Estonia's population left in the years after World War II. In the last week of March of 1949, between 8 and 12% of rural Estonians were deported. The pain and suffering of family separation is the stuff of nightmares. Unfortunately, the Estonians had to endure it, and was a reality not only for them but for most of the nations under the Iron Curtain. The Old Town Festival held in Tallinn, Estonia is the Estonian national music festival that takes place every 5 years, which started in 1876. Each time the festival happens, many singers audition for a conductor and experts in vocalism. Of the people who audition, 30,000 of the best singers get to sing together in a choir. When Stalin took power over Estonia, the people found a way to express themselves and show their freedom with their singing. Mu Irshma on Minum Arm, my fatherland is my love. This was never included in the program of any song festival. However, at the close of almost every festival, this song would erupt sporadically from the audience, becoming the de facto final of most Estonian song festivals. The Soviets had no idea what the song meant, and the song became the unofficial national anthem of Estonia, especially during the regime of Joseph Stalin and Nikita Khrushchev. One of the main reasons why the singing revolution was able to occur is the transfer of power to Mikhail Gorbachev. The policy was different from prior leaders. Prova Scotia, as an evolutionary process that emerged from the changes that took place across the Soviet bloc in the decades before 1985. This is a reasonable approach since Nova Scotia was a response to the problems that accumulated over several decades and blended ideas and policies that had been developed within and without the USSR. Nova Scotia is a policy that allowed free speech and expression to not be a punishable crime by death. This is the type of oppression that Joseph Stalin had perfected. Alo Matishi is a man that was willing to test Gorbachev's new policies of Nova Scotia. Alo was the composer of 5 patriotic songs to be the crying call of the singing revolution. The timing was just right as other powers were trying to release the Soviets' iron grip on the puppet states that included Estonia. Alo unveiled the songs at the Tartu Pop Festival in May of 1988. The 5 patriotic songs were not the only songs performed. Later in June of the same year, the songs were performed at the Old Town Festival held in Tallinn. The audience and staff turnout was around 300,000, which was 1/3 of the population at the time. The original involvement at the time was just Estonia. That spread to the other Baltic states. The songs during the music festival was used in the Baltic Way, a human chain that had 2 million participants over 3 nations from Tallinn to Vilnius, which are the capitals of Estonia and Lithuania. In August of 1989, the pushback was not only in Estonia, but other parts of the Soviet bloc. They all found freedom when the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991. Estonia has been a free and independent state since 1991 and joined the European Union in 2003. Music is one of the most powerful forms of communication. The Estonian culture and people understand the power of music and singing, especially when trying to unite a nation. They found themselves restricted from personal and political freedoms for over 40 years. Estonians' fight for freedom is different than other people who typically protest with such things as sit-ins, marches, and boycotts. Creating music for the purpose of voicing one's opinion against a corrupt society is difficult to do. The history of the Soviet Union and the countless number of people who were killed as a demonstration of power to cast fear and doubt into anyone who might oppose their ideology. Unfortunately, having an active military is a powerful deterrent to free speech and expression. The singing revolution seems like a fluke because it is the product of its time and having the ability to have free speech when it has been silenced for so many years. The new policies ended up backfiring in the Soviets' face. The freedom to create arguments against the Soviets showed the flaws with the communist dictatorship. Estonia had pushed back at the right time to gain their freedom. The events should speak more to the loss of power than to a nation that was unified. Good always wins in the end. The singing revolution is an excellent story of history, but is not an ideal blueprint for a revolution. No one should have their freedom taken away from them. A person that lives in fear of another man telling him what to do is no kind of way to live. Society is constantly evolving to become better together. When people unite around a common goal, it gives them purpose and can create the type of world that they want to live in. Fear is something that evil men capitalize on, but a good man overcomes fear with a little bit of help. Thank you for watching this video and hope to see you soon again.